Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be part of this very important event on ASEAN India, the Delhi Dialogue, the seventh edition, and particularly because in this audience and this group, many old friends, besides my Indian friends, uh, Sutipan and Nambiar, Kavi sitting over there, and Nishimura-san. So I'm very happy to be part of this group, seeing old friends and very interesting discussion that we just heard. Three very interesting and enlightening presentations, very comprehensive presentations by Nambia and Prabir, and also very insightful comments of Professor Sutipan, whom I have known for a very long time. Now, I think most of the important points have been made in this discussion already. What I'd like to do is to just highlight a couple of points that I thought should be taken forward, on this discussion. One is that ASEAN-India partnership that we are discussing. I think one more thing which has been added in recent times, which makes it very critical, is the change external environment for economic cooperation and integration. You know that in the period of 2003 to 2007-8, just before the Lehman crisis broke down, the global economic integration, because the world trade was growing at very fast pace, about 10% per year, and the major locomotives of the world economy were US and Eurozone, driving growth with debt-fueled consumption, and that helped economies of China and other countries in this region to emerge as major supply bases. It has changed very dramatically since then. And now you know that world trade growth has come down to just 2 to 3%, and the advanced economies of the world are facing very uncertain and subdued kind of economic outlook. In that context, regional economic integration becomes all the more critical driver for driving the Asian dynamism that we have become used to. So in that context, the ASEAN-India economic cooperation and integration assumes much bigger centrality and criticality. So, and in that context, again, I mean, the other development is the rise of mega FTAs, the Trans-Pacific Partnership on the eastern side, and the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership on the other side. These two mega blocks, together with Single Market of Europe and NAFTA, mean, if you put all these dots together, you will conclude that more than 80% of trade of major economies of the world will be conducted on a preferential basis. That leaves, the countries which are not part of these blocks at a disadvantage. And again, in that context, I would like to very strongly support the formation of RCEP between the ASEAN countries and the 6 major dialogue partners, which include India. So RCEP has the potential to emerge as the third pole of the world economy alongside European market and NAFTA, and so it could be a very sizable, very big critical mass. Besides its dynamism of the constituents of RCEP, the $20 trillion kind of market can be, I mean, a good sort of counterpart or counterweight to EU single market and NAFTA, and the huge base of population, the 50% of world's population will be served by RCEP countries, and we tend to see RCEP, because it has incorporated this open accession clause, which is very right thing to do. In ASCAP, we tend to see RCEP as a nucleus of an even bigger Asia-Pacific integrated market eventually to happen. So it is being negotiated by 16 countries, but we hope that eventually more countries will join it using this accession clause. And so there is, for instance, if Pakistan or Bangladesh or other countries in the region want to join it, there is no reason why they cannot, because they can fulfill the conditions of accession. And in the context of this deeper regional economic integration, while it is very important to negotiate a good agreement under RCEP, covering goods, services, investment, and dealing with the non-tariff barriers of the type which Professor Sutipan was talking about, and economic cooperation to cover all different aspects of standards, harmonization, trade facilitation, and all that. I think it is very important to see this region of 16 countries, having some development gaps across the spectrum of the membership. And narrowing development gaps could be a very important aspect of the cooperation, regional cooperation, which would make it much more productive and fruitful. And for that, there are very important opportunities in this region. This region, I mean, one of the major strengths of RCEP countries is that its combined foreign exchange reserves are much bigger than combined foreign exchange reserves of EU and NAFTA countries. 75% of total reserves belong to this region. And there is no reason why these resources, which are currently intermediated through Western capital markets, why they cannot be intermediated through some of the regional cooperative architecture, which needs to be developed, which could facilitate development of infrastructure in the region. And so in that context, of course, we have seen the development of BRICS Development Bank, the new development bank set up by BRICS countries, and the China's initiative of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. These are very important initiatives, but there is room for more, especially because in addition to $7 trillion of foreign exchange reserves in this region, we have estimated that private savings of wealthy in this region are also of the same order, about $7 trillion. And it's such a lost opportunity that most of these resources are invested or put in the Western capital markets because we lack a cooperative architecture for their deployment and intermediation in Asia. The other thing is, financial cooperation needs to go hand in hand with deeper regional economic integration under RCEP. That is the point I would like to make. The other is the discussion which was there on regional value chains, and it's a very important idea, and the regional economic integration's full potential will never be realized without allowing the regional value chains to develop. And for that, it has been very rightly pointed out that you need seamless connectivity. Kabir has highlighted all different initiatives that are on for developing connectivity through multimodal corridors. And Mr. Chairman, you were pointing out that the biggest challenge has been that some of these initiatives have been implemented slowly, and the time taken is very long, partly due to financing. I think the way out is to put these dots or these corridors and make them part of a bigger extended corridors which extend their viability, commercial viability, and that would attract multilateral and other investors, because they become part of bigger picture corridor. And so there, I think we need to look at some of the big picture roadmaps for development of connectivity. And I like to point out the Trans-Asian Railway roadmap that was developed by ASCAP many years ago. And that is backed by also an intergovernmental agreement on Trans-Asian Railway. And this we had conceived of 3 Asia-Europe corridors as a part of the Trans-Asian Railway route map. And the third one, the first 2, which were connecting in the northern part of Asia-Europe network, and the middle through Kazakhstan and China and all that. They have come up, but the third one, the southern southern route network of Trans-Asian Railway, which would be passing through India and connecting ASEAN countries in China with India and all the way to Europe. I think the time has come to link some of these individual bilateral and trilateral parts of the connectivity corridors as a part of that big picture, overarching framework. Because in transport connectivity, the transport corridors actually work on the concept of this network externalities. So when you extend a network, the benefits or the outcomes are they multiply in a very sort of disproportionate manner, and that is the beauty of these corridors, that we need to, I think about big pictures and sell these parts of that big picture to the institutional investors, multilateral development banks, and they will, I'm sure, take them up for development, and they could be expedited this way. So I'd like to stop here. I think there are many opportunities for India and ASEAN to work together with, and energy security and cooperation again is very fascinating, very fruitful, productive. Potential is waiting for exploitation. And Mr. Chairman has just now pointed out how the South Asian energy grids could possibly evolve and connect with the ASEAN grids in future. And similarly for gas and hydrocarbon pipelines developing between the South Asian countries, connecting with ASEAN networks would be a very important prospect. And I think the future of ASEAN-India partnership definitely is very bright. And in this change context of the global economy, where the stimulus or engines of growth need to be found within the region, I think this assumes even a greater criticality. So with these words, I would like to thank you once again. Thank you. Bye.